Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's episode is going to be about what I wish I told my 16-year-old self or my early 20-year-old self back in the day. And I'm currently in my mid-20s, and there are so many life lessons and character development that I didn't ask for that I wish I told my younger self back when I was 16. So let's get into the video. The first thing I would tell my younger self is to get financially literate. Growing up, I was not taught about money. It was something that was forbidden to talk about, and it was something that I was really confused about because I felt like I lived in poverty in the UK. And I don't know if it's an NRI thing where they make a lot of money and take it back to India, build a massive house there that no one lives in, but I guess it was their dream at the time. But I would live a very luxury and lavish life back at home when we'd go for the 6 weeks holidays, but lived a very frugal life when I was um in the UK. And I was just really confused of am I rich or am I poor? And it was just a internal battle that I only realized was my financial blueprint later on in life. And the first thing that I would tell my younger self is start reading about money and the psychology of money and learning what investing is, learning what compounding is, that your money can work for you and to work towards having multiple streams of income. Because if your first stream of income fades away and cuts off, and you become broke, what are you falling back on? And to have an emergency fund and to teach my younger self having three pots of a savings pot, an investing pot, and a generosity pot as well. And to know how to divvy up my finances and how to budget my finances wisely, even with the little that I had back then. So the first thing that I would tell myself is to read books, to get financially literate, and to rewrite my financial blueprint from a poverty scarcity mindset to an abundant one. And the second, oh, for those of you who don't know the difference between scarcity and abundance mindset, is scarcity mindset is just operating in survival mode constantly, just having enough, thinking that there isn't enough to go around, and always feeling like that everything's a competition or that there isn't enough to go around. Whereas an abundance mindset enables you to celebrate others because you know that their success doesn't diminish your success and that there is enough resources and enough money to go around. And you manage your money doesn't manage you. And money is a tool for financial freedom and financial independence. And knowing what money means to you is essential. And learning how to manage money wisely. Is it a want or is it a need? And in university, I was given a lump sum of student finance loan, and I acted recklessly with it by buying so many material things that I didn't need, or just feeling like I had to give it away. And even rewriting the narrative of what I was taught sometimes of rich people are evil, or like money is the root of all evil. That is a lie. Like, money is important, and whoever tells you that it's not important is lying to you because you need it in this world. And even biblically, it there are many parables and many mentions of money in the Bible, and that because it's important, and to know how to steward it wisely is very important as well. And learning about investing and learning about the principle of generosity and your heart in giving and learning about tithing as well is something that I would have told my 16-year-old self to make my life in my 20s much easier. Even learning that my money can work for me and accumulate, no one taught me that because everyone thought investing was risky. But it is, if it wasn't for 19-year-old or 21-year-old Riya creating an emergency fund or a savings fund, 25-year-old Riya now would have not been able to rely on that money to pay off her rent when it came to an emergency. And I'm so grateful that I did that. I wish I did it a bit earlier, but I'm glad that I did that during my early 20s so that it helped me in my mid 20s. So that's the first thing, is get financially literate. Second thing is about friendships. Friendships are supposed to be reciprocal. It's a two-way thing, and two people have to invest in it and care about it enough to be intentional about it. And sometimes we stay in certain friendships because of proximity or because of time, even if they are toxic. And learning what I value in terms of my morals and values and staying rooted and anchored in that has enabled me to cultivate some really beautiful friendships in my life. But it also meant to let go and to grieve certain losses of friendships in my life as well. Because certain people are so used to the unhealed, broken version of you that they don't like the way growth looks on you. And I wish I told my 16-year-old self that the right people will come to you and the right people will stay and the wrong people will reject you or go. And that is a blessing in disguise. People are either a lesson or a blessing or both. And I wish I told my 16-year-old self that. And not everyone is for you. Not everyone wants the best for you either, which is a harsh reality of life. And to be very careful who you let into your inner circle and to cultivate that and to guard your heart. And one thing that I discern of whether if someone is supposed to be in my life or not supposed to be in my life is, do I feel energized and happy and that I want to see that person again? Or do I feel drained and tired and I can wait a while? I can wait a while till I see that person again. And if it is the latter, that means that person is not for you and I need to keep a boundary or a distance. And the third thing that moves me on to my third point, which is learning to say no, and that boundaries are important. I used to be like a sponge. I still am sometimes, to be honest, is I would absorb everyone else's emotions, or I would give and give and give until I ran on empty. And then I would become burnt out and I would blame everything that I was doing or everyone else around me for burning out. Or I would suppress my emotions and not speak up and have a lot of passivity and not being assertive enough to actually say how I feel or to say no, that then I would explode or implode and then I would lash out. But no one knew that I was suffering silently because I never voiced it. And learning to say no, that not everyone deserves access to you, and you don't have to help everyone, and you don't have to go to every event, and you don't have to serve everywhere because you also need to protect your mental and physical health, and that comes first, and that is a priority. And learning to steward that as well is a priority. Self-love is not selfish, it's being self-full, and you must give out of your overflow, not out of a cup that is full, but a cup that is overflowing. And I wish I told myself that back in the day too. And I'm going to shout out two of my best friends from school who taught me what true friendship looks like. And if it wasn't for them, I don't know where I would be today. And they are the most strongest and most ambitious women that I know in my life. And one of them I met in the school canteen when I was sitting alone. And I realize that happens as an adult sometimes as well, when you are in a group of people and you don't know who to sit with. You sometimes have to create your own table, and the right people will join your table. And they made me realize to reach for the stars and more. They were with me through my deepest suffering, but then they celebrated my greatest successes with me as well. So I tell people this and tell younger people this as well of, if you lost everything tomorrow, including your achievements, your accolades, your money, your status, who would be there for you? Who would stand by you? Who would open their home to you? And those are true friends who are there for you during your lowest times, but also there to celebrate your highest wins too. There will be so many people around you when you win. Those who didn't believe in you, those who even spoke ill about you when you had nothing. But when you start succeeding in the eyes of the world, then you accumulate so many friends who weren't actually there for you when you were going through it. So be careful who you invite into your inner circle. you don't get to choose the family you're born into, but you get to choose your friendships, who are your chosen family. And choose wisely because they can make or break you. You are an average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And another thing that I would tell my younger self is about insecurity, about looks. I went to an all girls school. And I don't know what water they drank in between year 11 and sixth form where they got to like wear their own clothes and stuff. But it was so confusing how much emphasis I put on my external appearance and how much I cared about what people thought of me, about the dresses I wore or the style that I had, and if it was different from the trends or the normal things that people would wear, you would get bullied for it or made fun of. And I wish I told my younger self not to care about what other people thought of you, because even if you're the most perfect girl in the world, there will be at least one person that doesn't like you just because you're yourself. And that's okay. Those people weren't meant for you in the first place. Not everyone can afford gold. And I would tell my younger self to know your value, then add tax, to know your intrinsic worth and never waver from it. If you are so confident in yourself, confidence is cultivated. And I wish someone taught me that as well, because I was a girl who couldn't even look at people in the eye and was scared to even assert myself or to even voice my opinion. And it was since the age of 17, I've started working or volunteering. And the first place that I worked in was the British Heart Foundation in a charity shop, and it was in retail. And I was at the till and I was serving customers, and I got to interact with elderly people, young people, families, and that just enabled me to put myself out there. I was really scared to even talk, and it just helped my communication skills, my customer service skills. And I really wish someone told me to do it earlier or to join a club or a society earlier to just cultivate my confidence. Because the only way you create confidence, it's not something that you're born with, is to feel the fear and do it anyway. And then you have a track record of the things that you did and to do it scared. And the next thing that I would tell my younger self would be not to be so hard on yourself and to enjoy the process and that you don't have to have it figured out. I thought that I would be a doctor or an engineer when I was 16, 17, 18, and I had this 10-year plan that ended at 30, that by the age of 23 I would finish my bachelor's, then maybe I would take my master's, then by 25 I would get married, then by 30 I would have like 3 kids. um None of that happened, and I'm so glad it didn't pan out that way. Don't get me wrong, I do want to have a family one day and have children one day, but not to rush it. And that was another thing that I will tell myself in my mid 20s now, because after I graduated, like I said, I went to an all girls school and then throughout university, and my parents told me not to speak to boys, not to be around them. They said they thought in their head that if I even breathed the same air, that I would get impregnated. But after I graduated, they were like, why do you not have a person? Why are you not married yet? And this is the only question I've been hearing since I was 22, 23, up until 25 right now. And it's the most frustrating thing. No one asks me, what are your ambitions? Are you traveling anywhere? What are you working on right now? Are there any projects that you're passionate about? How are you succeeding in your career right now? Like, no one asked me those questions. But they put my worth on being chosen. That the longer you wait, that you are some rotten or damaged goods on a shelf that is waiting to be picked. And I'm content right now being single and enjoying my singlehood and knowing that I have to do so much in my singlehood, and the person that I'm possibly with is also being cultivated and being pruned in their singleness before we join together. And to not settle for less than you deserve, to know your value and to know your worth and your intrinsic value, because then you won't settle for breadcrumbs, and you won't have to teach a person how to love you. That is something that I wish I taught myself younger, is about relationships, is about dating, about knowing what you want, but also knowing what you don't want, and to cultivate substance, and to cultivate my character, and to cultivate skill set, and to enjoy the process of learning and unlearning. And my worth is not dependent on being chosen by a man. And that is something till now, when I was in secondary school and in my 20s and seeing the people around me, relationships play a big role of people even being codependent. I used to run to a person who was a friend. Anytime I had a problem, I would run to them and expect them to solve my problem. Or I would sometimes be codependent on them for affirmation or validation to make myself feel better. And sometimes God has to break the idol of relationships or people in order for you to turn to Him, because your validation doesn't come externally, it comes internally. And rewriting my narrative and rewriting the things that I say, speak over myself, is also very important. And who has access to my ear and who has access to my heart? And I would tell my younger self to guard my heart and to protect it, because everything else flows from that. So the person that you marry is the most intimate relationship, but also it's the most important decision you're going to make in your life. So do not rush it and choose wisely, because that person can make or break you. So choose someone that has something going for them. And there's a difference between a man and a boy. And people don't like me saying this, but a man has clarity, he has vision, he knows where he's going, he has a vision for his own life, but a vision for a marriage as well, and where they are going as a couple, and a vision for their children. And the second for me is safety and protection. It's the littlest of things, of knowing the littlest of your needs and it being taken care of. And you feeling that you can be authentically and unapologetically your true self and your genuine self around that person. That is very important. That I always say, marry your best friend, your companion, having a firm foundation of friendship first. And the third is emotional maturity. The person that you are at 18 or the person that you meet at 18 sometimes is not the person that you love at 24, 25. And people evolve over time. So have things going for you, your career, your skill sets outside of that relationship. Have friendships outside of those relationships as well, and cultivate those. And the fourth, faith, morals, values need to align. You need to be aligned in something. And I believe love is a choice. I don't believe it's a feeling. And that honeymoon period of feeling butterflies and stuff can fade away all the time, but you choose in the hard times and in the good times that person, to stick by them through sickness and in health, through rich and through rich and richer, but through rich and in poor. And if you were in hospital or if you had a car accident and you didn't have the beauty that you used to, would they still stick by you? One thing that inspires me is when I see these old, elderly, married couples who are in church holding hands and they are praying together and they have second and third generations with them and they see that love and they still look at each other with the same love that they had 60 years ago, and they still go on date night and they still make time for their family. And that's so important, that you're going to grow old with this person. And is this person that you can spend a lifetime with? I feel like today we live in an instant noodle generation, an instant gratification generation where there is no commitment. And always ask, what happened to dating? What happened to courting? What happened to pursuit? What happened to a moral compass and morals and values? Because I believe that you're not just being physically intimate with a person, you're being emotionally and spiritually connected as well. And you take a part of a person with you into a next relationship. And I believe in soul ties and then having to unlearn a lot of things and untie a lot of things before you have to heal in this next relationship as well. And not to use and abuse people. Having clarity on where you stand in the relationship from the get-go and where you're heading. This should be a video for another day because that relationships is such a big part of our lives, and I really wish I told my younger self that it does not define your worth and your value is not dependent on being chosen or dependent on a man. It is dependent on how you see yourself and your intrinsic worth and value, and to be confident in that. And it's good to be an assertive woman, especially in a society who condones passivity, and to stick up for what you believe in and to have integrity for what you believe in and in your work as well. There are so many other things that I would have told my younger self, and this probably needs to be a part two series. Um, but yeah, these would be the top 4 or 5 things I would tell 16-year-old Riya if she could look back and talk to her today. And that to have grace and to take it easy on yourself, and that your timeline is not the same as another person's. Chapter 25 is incomparable to your chapter 2, and you may just be starting out life, and it's okay to reroute, to rebrand, to face rejection, because rejection is sometimes God's protection for a bigger blessing as well. And to stay true to yourself and to shine bright and not be afraid of being visible and being seen, because your voice matters, and there may be somebody's healing attached to your voice. And there is so much out there to see in the world and to immerse in different cultures, and so many people left to meet. And life is an adventure, and to enjoy it and to have fun failing. And that failing in an exam or failing at a job or a thing doesn't make you incompetent, or it doesn't make you a failure in life. There is so much out there in the world for you left to see and left to experience, and it's okay to try again. And I hope you love again, and that growth comes in the discomfort, and to enjoy shining bright, because you need to know the value that you give the world and that you matter, and there is a place for you, and have the audacity to take up that space. So yeah, before I ramble more about the things that I wish I knew now, I will save that for a different video. Thank you for listening, and if you are blessed by anything that I said or anything struck you, leave it down in the comments below. I would love to hear, what would you tell your younger self, or what lessons you wish you knew in your early 20s that would have been beneficial for you now. And if you would like me to speak to your young people within schools or within your organization, leave me a comment or a DM and I will get back to you. And yeah, take care. Bye.